Good afternoon. The Baltimore City Board of Ethics for August 14th, 2024. My name is Steve Fogelman. I'm the chair, and we will call this meeting to order. All participants of the public session of the board meeting acknowledge and consent to the video and audio recording of the public session and the publication of the recording on the board's website and social media accounts. Per the Open Meetings Act, the board discloses that it adjourned its virtual open meeting at its last meeting in June 2024 to enter the administrative session. I'm sorry, this information is not correct. It's not current that I have in front of me. So we'll supplement that information in just a minute. However, the board may need to close some or all of this particular meeting to preserve the confidentiality mandated by the Ethics Code or is otherwise authorized by the State Open Meetings Act. Upon adjournment of the open session, the board may sit for an administrative session where we discuss administrative functions in the board and other matters. Let me get to, what was the date of our last meeting? I'm sorry, I've got another agenda open to read this preamble.
June 12th.
June 12th. And based on the minutes, what time do we go into administrative session?
3:40.
Thank you. All right, so on June 12th, 2024, at approximately 3:40, we entered into executive session to discuss administrative matters, including complaints. All right, thank you all. Chris, would you like to have us skip to new business at this time?
I think just not to, since we have a number of petitioners here, I think we should honor their time and move them up.
I think so. Okay. Who do we have here first? I mean, we have a secondary employment request.
No, so for here, for the public part,
yeah,
we have a charitable gift solicitation waiver application for the Veterans Day Parade from the Mayor's Office and one for the Infrastructure Summit from the Mayor's Office of Infrastructure Development. So I would suggest let's go with the Veterans Day Parade.
Okay, let's go with that. And I apologize. I had a printed out copy of the other agenda for today. So you want to kind of go ahead and take the lead here and everybody while I get myself ready to go on the laptop. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going with the Veterans Day request. And that's the document that says June 28th, 2024. Right? Just want to make sure.
It can't be that, I don't think, Noel, because it's something still, that's behind us, right?
Right. It looks like that's what the date of the application. I believe Marva Williams.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought it was the date of the event. I'm so sorry.
I believe that's Marva Williams who submitted or who's here on behalf of that request. Right?
Yeah, good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. Good afternoon. So I guess we'll start with you. And
okay, I apologize. I can't be on camera. I'm at an appointment and I found a room to sneak into, so be on this call. So yeah, I think the date that you're referring to, Ms. Noel, is probably the date that I guess that my application was submitted and approved by the Board of Estimates. So the Veterans Day Parade, it's an annual parade produced by the Mayor's Office, where Mayor Scott and other cabinet members, dignitaries, VIPs, elected officials honor the sacrifices and dedication and service of our military personnel and of our veterans. The Veterans Day Parade this year will be held on Saturday, November 9th. I think Veterans Day falls on a Monday this year, but the parade will be held on Saturday, November 9th. Starting at 12 o'clock at the Washington Monument, and the same route continues on down Charles Street, turning onto Baltimore Street to Gay Street, and ending at the War Memorial Plaza in front of City Hall. The application was submitted because we would like to get assistance, sponsorships, and support in covering expenses such as, we have students who will be participating from our city schools. They need transportation. The junior ROTC programs and marching bands are participating in the parade. We need transportation to get them to the parade and back. We also like to provide meals for the students as well as the parade participants. Last year, we were able to provide take-home boxes for the veterans and other military personnel that participated in the parade. We also have expenses such as we have a wreath laying ceremony that actually kicks off the parade at the Washington Monument, as well as at the end of the parade, there's a wreath laying ceremony. So we look for sponsorships and supporters to help cover those areas as well.
Okay, I've got your application open. Do you have any questions, members? Discussion?
Yes, I have a couple questions, please, Ms. Williams.
Sure.
This is John McCauley. It all sounds very like a very good program, and I don't have a particular problem with approving the request. I just had a couple of questions about a couple of things in the request. First, the document we have is that there was something that went from maybe your office or the mayor's office to the Board of Estimates on June 28th. And then an endorsement on the second page from the clerk of the Board of Estimates. And I'm not getting that at all, because the Board of Estimates endorsed this proposal on June 26th, but the submission wasn't sent until 2 days later. So I don't really know how that happened, and maybe you can shed a little light on that.
When you say the submission wasn't sent until, I'm not understanding the submission.
Well, I've got a cover memo to the Board of Estimates Office of Controller from AGC 4301. I'm not sure what that means. Mayoralty, date of June 28th, 2024, submission number SB 24-11436, subject Baltimore City Veterans Day Parade. So I'm just not, and then the endorsement is on the second page, and that's June 26th. I don't know how they endorsed something 2 days before it was submitted. Maybe there was something else submitted to them ahead of time, but I'm not really understanding the sequence.
Yeah, on that, I don't know about those dates or the actual process or procedure, the sign offs between from the controller's office. I really don't know how that's done. That may be a question that needs to be directed to the controller's office for the sign off. So the application, what have you, that was all, that it actually was all submitted well before June, but we have to get sign off on our submissions from within the mayor's office. So whenever that was signed off and it went to the Board of Estimates, and then it was approved by the Board of Estimates and sent to me, and therefore I forwarded to the Ethics Commission to get on the meeting agenda.
Okay, but do you know, was this submitted to the Board of Estimates before June 28th? Because that's the date on your map. I realize you're sort of handicapped because you're in an office and you're not.
No, yeah, well, actually, yes, it was definitely submitted well before June. So I don't know if that was from someone in our office. I think our administrative manager signs off after I put in my initial application. So I don't know if that's from his submission or not, but yes, my initial application was submitted, put into the portal long before June 28th.
Okay, and then the application we have, and frankly, the Board of Estimates application says the period of the waiver is for solicitation efforts to start on May 15th, 2024. Have solicitation efforts already started?
Absolutely not. I don't start any solicitation until after I get approval from the BOE and then approval from your commission.
So why, I'm just, as a matter of procedure, I just don't
So
understand.
because
why
the memo that I created was, as you asked earlier, was well before June 28th. It stays in the portal until it's signed off by our administrative manager. When he signs off on that, I don't know. So maybe that's where there's a difference or in the dates. So no solicitation has started. So now that, so no, I'll explain to you. So the memo that I created I started the memo in March because I wanted to begin solicitation early. But again, I can't start anything. The process doesn't start until it's signed off by our administrative manager. Then it goes to the Board of Estimates. It gets on their agenda. And then, of course, it comes to your commission after the approval. So when I start my application, the reason that May is on there because that was my intended date to begin solicitation. It didn't happen that way because it wasn't approved in the portal by the administrative manager until after that. So no,
Right,
I
okay.
John, can I jump in, John, for a moment? This is Arnold
Sure.
Sampson.
Go ahead,
Thank you so much. Miss Williams, the cleaner these documents are, the easier it is for us to make a informed decision. And I have a question. I gather there's just a little magical time travel situation going on here on 24th versus 26th versus the 28th. That if we delve deep enough, we may be able to figure out what it is. I don't remember whether last year or in previous years a solicitation request was submitted for this event. Was there one, as far as you know?
Yes. Oh yeah, it was last
Okay.
year. I came
Okay.
before you all last year. Yes.
And perhaps was there one before that even?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
Actually, under this administration, the first parade, it was two. So this is actually going to. So the very first year, no, there was no solicitation
Okay.
required for it now. Mhm.
Yeah. And so this is the second year. How did it go last year? Did things go smoothly?
Well, yes, it did. I mean, barring the rain, but the veterans they love the rain.
Okay. And
Yeah, it was nice.
And the ethics board did approve last year's request?
Yeah, yes, you
Okay.
did. Mhm.
Good to know. Okay. So you recognize that our one of our smartest, most alert board members, we're not a commission, we're a board, just whatever it's worth. So I felt very, very, very honored that we were calling us a commission because we have a staff that's a commission level staff. They're amazing. So I gather that we previously have approved it, and this year, is there a significant difference between what is being proposed this year versus last year?
No, there isn't. The only difference is that, again, my intention was to begin soliciting earlier because, as we all know, just the climate has changed economically. You have companies that aren't sponsoring as much as they did in the past. So for me, it was a matter of trying to get to, trying to get some sponsorship requests out early as possible. So again, I did do my memo early, but I'm not the sign off on the application in the portal.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. This is helpful to us as board members to hear and to know that this is not a first time out, and that we previously found it appropriate to approve the effort, and that the effort turned out well. And we're hoping that this year's effort will turn out as well. Also, so we'll see what the other members and with John and other members feel about the submission.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, no other questions? All right, thank you. Any members? Wait. Noel?
No, I don't have any other questions. No worries.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, any discussion? All right, all discussions been concluded. Do I have a motion to approve this waiver?
I move that we approve the waiver for the Veterans Day Parade. I think that's a suitable use of donations and a suitable activity for donations.
Is there
I
a second?
second with a comment, understanding that the Board of Estimates controller document submitted has a discrepancy with the dates. What I'm assuming is that it's just an error on the individual who processed that document, but not, and can't be contributed to Ms. Williams. Her application indicates May 30th is when she filled the application. And given the fact that she submitted this prior in a last year and it was approved, I second that motion.
All right, the motion's been seconded. So all in favor of the approval of the waiver for the Veterans Day parade, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And that's 4. That's 4, right? Yeah.
That's 4.
All right. All right, great. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your time and your ability to answer our questions. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
You
Thank you,
too.
Wayne.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, we like to go stay into the new business at this time. Chris, others? Do we have anybody here? We do have someone from Councilman Cohen's office here. Do we know?
No, the next one would be Chief Haskins. I'm saying it wrong. I'm so sorry, Chief Haskins.
No
But
worries.
yes.
I'm Ann Haskins Brookover, and what we're putting before you is a waiver for an infrastructure summit that is a new venture, and it is to bring together stakeholders from the public workforce system, the business community, infrastructure, industry sector, state officials, and other stakeholders to explore how the city is using the influx of federal funds in regard to infrastructure jobs, training, infrastructure maintenance, and more. Summit will highlight public institutions and opportunities that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA, and the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, pose for Baltimore City, as well as the future of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Funding for the event will be used to rent space at the Baltimore Convention Center, food for the event participants, breakfast, lunch, and reception, and production of any collateral materials, including printing of event programs and promotional materials. The event is going to take place on the 18th of October, 2024.
All right, and what do you suggest that most of the raised funds, $5,000 to $50,000, where do you think that's going to come down within that range? I mean, do you think it's going to come closer to 50?
It's actually going to be, well, since we submitted the paperwork, we got the revised information from the convention center. I did send requested changes. I spoke to somebody in your office about that. We anticipate the range is going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, probably closer to about 75 or 80. I have my colleague Ramona Harry with me. Does that sound correct to you, ma'am?
Yes. What has happened is we actually started planning this and on a smaller scale, realized that the city is receiving such an influx of infrastructure dollars that we needed to reach out to the business community in a bigger way. When we originally talked with the convention center, it was prior to July 1 to get quotes. Since that time, the convention center on July 1 changed their service providers, and their costs are significantly different, higher due to inflation. So once we got the final quotes from the convention center and all of the different facilities, whether it's audio, visual, those things, the quotes came back much higher and required us to look at a different total for solicitation.
Mm-hmm. All right, other questions?
Yes. Hi, Ms. Haskins
Mhm.
Brookover. So reading your application, and Ms. Adamo submitted it, right? Janice Adamo? Did she submit?
Adamo,
Adamo, okay. Question or in reference to Part B, purpose of proposed solicitation. Thank you for this description. However, if you can expand on exactly what will be what will the summit be about? Is it to recruit businesses or anything to work with
Not
the?
at all. I'm
Okay.
gonna let my colleague, who I think, putting you on the spot there, Ramona, who's been much more involved in that part, to explain that to you a little bit better. It's really, I would say it's more of an educational opportunity to bring people together to talk about, things like, for instance, the Francis Scott Key Bridge and what that means for the city and how the city can rebuild from that. But it's to bring together people from the business community, people who might be interested in supporting the city. Some folks might be not looking for jobs, but to learn about what jobs are available. But mostly we're talking about various tracks of content. And at that point, Ramona, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain it a little bit better than I'm doing right now.
Okay, so the infrastructure dollars that we're receiving, one, Baltimore City has a very large infrastructure need. We need to get to a state of good repair. We've been fortunate enough to be one of the largest recipients of infrastructure dollars in order to assist the city to get to that point. We are in a situation where we may have these dollars, but now we need to figure out where do we best spend them. How do we get contractors and consultants in the business community to recognize that we have an opportunity to do better, to implement better infrastructure projects within the city? And how do we make sure that on those projects we create long-term jobs for our citizens and that we aren't pulling businesses that are employing people from out of state? Part of the infrastructure dollars that we received also address monies for improving our workforce development. So with this infrastructure summit, what we want to do is bring Baltimore City Public Schools. How do we do youth apprenticeships? How do we work with all of these stakeholders so that we can put things into place to make sure that we are preparing high school students to fill these long-term careers? How do we engage the underserved members of our community and get them prepared to fill jobs in the infrastructure community? How do we work with business partners to say, okay, these are the jobs? Yes, all of our projects are going to be bid. They have to follow the city process. But one of our biggest stumbling blocks is that most of the people in the business community don't recognize that these infrastructure jobs are coming, and they're not the type of projects that we can tell you about it and say, hey, here's the job that's coming. In 45 days, can you provide a bid? We need to give them probably 18 months to make sure that we start training so people are prepared to be boots on the ground once they're bid. Make sure that they have the right equipment and they're prepared to actually execute these jobs should they win a bid, and effectively supply the services that we need. So that's how we want to engage and make sure everybody's in the room and everybody knows what's coming.
Thank you, Ms. Harry. And just bear with me for a second because understanding that this would cost a significant amount, I think you have it correct. There's probably more 50 to 100,000, especially with the convention center. So I do want to get a full understanding. And what I'm hearing you say, and you use the word between you and Ms. Haskins, Brookover, is educational. So this would be also educational to be able to explain how to get government bids
Yes. So we are going
with
to
Baltimore
have.
City.
Yes, we are going to have the small development business program involved. And as one of the presenters, we are having Baltimore City Public Schools local advisory committee on apprenticeships there providing information. We are going to have vendors from our various agencies that will have information on upcoming projects so that there will be a preview. There will be we will be asking the city solicitor to talk about innovation in infrastructure and how we can make sure that we're accountable. So we have a varied list of conversations and panels that we will have conversation about all of the facets of the infrastructure implementation program across the city.
And will the planning of this event be in-house or will you be outsourcing that to a company?
Our team has been doing this. Ann can go ahead, but this has all
I was
been
gonna
our
say-
team.
Yes,
Oh.
we've been, sort of, our team has been involved in the planning of this, in close, coordination with CA Leach, who also has asked, Maya, what's her last name? Mona Gilbert?
Okay, from Cable and Communications.
Right, has been helping us as well. In fact, it was she who suggested we look to do some tickets and sponsorships for the event. At first, it was going to be a free event, and she suggested this. And then, of course, when the bids came back from the latest round of bids came back from the convention center, that seemed like a wise thing. Also, Dana Moore, who is the special advisor for
Dana
the
Moore.
Bridge, she is on the steering committee as well.
Okay, thank you. And I believe our board has met Maya is it Maya Gilmore or
Yes.
do I have the correct name? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that was the next question I was gonna have, because it seems as though this information would be helpful for any business who would love to learn how to do business with the city, right? And that could definitely help with economic development. But I did notice that you plan on having tickets to this event. So I'm curious to know how much would the tickets be, and would you offer options for, especially since you are looking to educate high school students and parents who want to make sure that their children have a track after high school. Do you plan on offering some sort of,
Scholarship
cost-free
sponsor, yes,
or scholarship
absolutely.
sponsorships or something like that as well?
So it was actually requested by CA Leach that the ticket prices be rather very affordable. So I think ticket prices start at $25. I think it's 25 and 50. I think is what you wanted to go for the ticket prices. Sponsorships, I think start at about $500 and go from there. Clearly, we're casting as wide a net as possible. I think we've got about 3,000 people on our mailing list, I want to say. Ramona, does that sound correct to you?
Our mailing list is a lot larger. One of the thoughts is that because this is so important, we wanted to make sure that we do have a ticket price. We are making affordable for small minority businesses. There's a lesser cost if you're a registered minority business, and we want to make sure that when people register and we've expended these funds to get this, that they actually show up. One of the things that our communications office has recognized is that if we made this totally free, we carried the cost, many people register and never show up, and that would be very wasteful. So we wanted to make sure that everyone had, some sort of commitment to show up.
That's a great point. And then my final question, because I don't want to take up all of the board's time, I'm sure they have questions as well. Do you have a model that you are following? Have you seen this type of summit in different cities? And if so, where and what type of summit, the name of the summit or something like that?
Okay, so every year I attend the Northeast Region Infra Day. That summit is a one-day summit held in New York City. It's held at the Harmony Hotel. It is about all of the infrastructure jobs that are going to happen in the Northeast region. The registration fee, and there is no discount, is $450. They provide, of course, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have a networking session the night before. And it's very, very informational. You get to learn about a lot of things that are happening in the area in the Northeast region, how people are working through workforce development. For the past 2 years, I've actually spoken on panels at that conference, and I encourage most of my colleagues to attend because we get to see how we're collaborating, how capital improvement projects and project teams are collaborating across the country. And it's a really good forum for that. So I think ours is going to be a little more in depth. The one in New York is, the sessions are 45 minutes. They're very, very New York, very fast paced. They're hitting you with questions and you're moving along. And it's just back to back sessions. They probably have about 25 sessions in that one day. We're looking to have 4 because we want to be more in depth and more detailed on how to do business with the city and how to accomplish this work.
And you said that's the Northeast Region Infra Day.
Infra Day, yes.
Infra Day. And is that summit sponsored by the city or a government agency, or is that a private summit?
So it's managed by a private company. However, it's done in conjunction with the New York City Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Yes, but they
All right.
completely have handed it over to a private company to run it.
Thank you. Anne?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing that the original idea for the summit actually did come from C.A. Lynch. She had done a similar idea, I guess, and I don't know the details, but when she was in DC, she had an infrastructure summit there and thought that we could do something like this in Baltimore. I think that's where I think the original kernel of the idea came from.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Any discussion?
I do have a question. I might as well ask it. What implications, what ethical implications should we be sensitive to, be concerned about regarding this very, you said informational, I say informative event?
And who are you asking the question to?
I'm asking the question I'll start with Ms. Haskins Brookover, but I suspect that Ms. Harry is going to supplement.
She is extremely on top of everything. Well, if I were to hazard a guess, I would say, I mean, clearly you would want to be sure that somebody's not getting preferential treatment. I mean, it's not a play. I think this is what you're getting at, sort of a pay for play kind of thing with the city. Clearly, that would be something we need to be considered. I would think that given, I think those people that are soliciting these sponsorships, should we get any? I mean, hopefully we'll get some. That would be nice for the bottom line of this. But I should say that C.A. Lynch and certainly our boss are both very aware of the cost of this and know that this is a costly enterprise, but feel that it's also important. So I think that is the ethical thing that needs to be thought of. I think by casting a wide net, by offering, nothing that's tangible, we're not saying that you're going to get anything for this, no preferential treatment. In your consideration, you have to, if you're going to do business with the city, you have to, as Ramona pointed out so eloquently, go through all the things that you have to go through in order to have any contracts with the city. But we certainly, and all we're asking, if somebody does support this, I mean, they get some recognition that they have supported the event. But I think other than that, I don't think there's anything tangible that changes. I can't think of anything tangible that changes hands as a result of any money should we get that for this event. Does that answer your question, sir?
It addresses my question. Is there any explicit or subliminal message sent to potential donors and um, contributors that says, you know, you're doing this for the good of the city of Baltimore. You're doing this to improve the lot of our citizenry,
Mhm.
and but it's not going to posture you for any kind of favorable treatment. Is any of that ever said directly?
No, absolutely not. There's nothing explicit at all. I cannot speak to what somebody may take from it subliminally, but in terms of anything overt, absolutely not. And
see.
Ramona, do you have anything to add to that?
So what I would say is one of the things that we are going to be discussing in one of our panels is the procurement process. There is a process. There are policies. And what we're trying to say is we would like you to do business with us, but here's what you need to do and here's how you need to be prepared. So if you are a sponsor, it does not, and in no way are we giving the impression that it excludes you from that process. All we're saying is you've done business with the city, you love our city, support us in getting this information out there so that it's fair and we can increase the number of participants in our procurement process for contracts, because we are short in terms of reaching companies that are willing to bid with the city. And all we want to do is expose everyone to information. But for those people sponsoring, there is absolutely no, you don't get a pass on anything. We're not telling you you're getting a pass on anything. We're just here to tell you this is what the process is. And no matter who you are, you have to follow that process.
And
Sorry, I wanna-
to make a point, the
Sorry.
Go ahead,
knowledge
Steve.
is power, and to understand that process, you're asking some sponsors to basically teach the process, at least a crash course, to what could become their future competitors. So I see it in maybe a light that might be slightly differently. So thank you.
Yeah, and this is just related, and I think this is probably an easy one to answer. Can you confirm that making a donation or making a sizable donation does not have any influence on who's going to be selected as a presenter in this conference?
Absolutely not. Before we did anything about the sponsorship part of that, I think we've already set our presenters, and I don't believe we've asked any of them for any funding. Is that correct, Ramona?
We haven't started any solicitation at all to
That's
begin
true.
with, but our panels are set, our moderators are set, our content for the panels and for the run of show has already been set. So the larger your donation will not get you on a panel, because all of those things have been already been set in stone, unless someone decides they're going to drop out. But that doesn't mean because you give a donation will allow you to be on that panel if what you have to offer is not substantive.
Thank you.
And you did say that this is the first one for Baltimore City?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
Sorry, gotta ask, I apologize to everybody, I hope this is not inept, but just, the incentive, the only incentive, not the only, forgive, an incentive that you have described is, the love of the city of Baltimore, which is a great incentive. But is there, I'm just curious, is there a write-off that, donors might be able to get, for
Well,
doing this?
so that is something, honestly, I am off the top of my head, I am not sure about. I mean, the city is not a 50, well, we're working with the Baltimore Civic Fund, which is a 501c3. All the funding would flow through that. I guess since the Civic Fund is a 501c3, I would guess that you could get the relevant tax write-off that comes when you donate to a 501c3. But other than that, I'm not really sure. Ramona, do you know?
That I have no idea. I don't know how I guess I would leave that for the business attorney.
Yeah.
Whoever's donating's attorney to figure that out. We're not saying to anyone that you can write this off, because I don't think we have the appropriate level of knowledge or information for those folks who are soliciting to make that acknowledgement to any of our donors. That's not anything that we've even really discussed.
True.
And, I said what I said as a hint comment, as to say, couldn't hurt to, if a write-off is possible and a comment could be made, make your donations to the fund and earmark them as to be channeled to Project 13. Then the write-off could be gotten. The entity would be encouraged to be supportive. They would gain, you would gain, but they would feel like that would be the gain, that they got a write-off and that the city is better off for it, and that more jobs are developed, more careers are started, et cetera, et cetera. Just a thought. I'm just commenting.
Just one thing. I know we're harping on this one, but a quick Google search says that there was one in May 2024. I'm not sure if that one, it might have been free.
So
But-
we originally planned one for May.
Yes.
That
Oh,
was
that's
much
how it's-
smaller and was canceled because it needed to be in a larger, that's the one, and I'm surprised it showed up on a Google search, because
Yeah.
we had advertised it and had to cancel because we were going to do it at Baltimore City Community College, and it would not have been enough space at all. And we had to cancel at the last minute. And
Okay.
that was the cancellation for planning this item.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
yes.
explaining to me.
Please live on the internet forever.
Thank you. All right. I'm sorry about that. I had a temporary glitch. Have all questions been answered at this time?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion by the board? All right. Hearing no discussion, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the request.
Second.
All in favor of approving the request signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you both for being here today.
No
Fielding
worries.
we appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank
to
you so much.
Yeah,
it's
good luck,
pretty-
yes.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Good meeting with you.
Thank you. All right. Are we going to stick around in new business? We still have quite a few things to cover here. If there's no objection, you want to go ahead and just finish up the new business. All right, I don't hear any objection. So let's move to Councilman Cohen's solicitation.
Yes, this is really just as a notice to the board. The waiver application was before the board at the last meeting. You will recall it was about raising funds for a transition team.
Right.
And for the inauguration, we're swearing in.
Right.
The board had concerns, particularly because this.
Yeah,
the
Chris,
small thing of there's a small thing of an election still to be held, and so in that regard, the memorandum is merely to withdraw the issue of fundraising for the inauguration from last meeting's agenda.
Right.
So
right.
it is really just for the board to take notice. We may get an updated waiver application, when the time is right. But at this point, I think anything is premature because there is an election that still has to confirm the results of the primaries, and the board probably should not take a predictive role in that. So
Agreed. All right, is there any discussion based upon this amendment?
Yes,
Nothing
I
has
read
to-
the amendment, I read the amendment differently, not withdrawing their request, but rather just modifying it to take the inauguration out of the request.
Yeah.
And they still want to fundraise for transition funds or, having transition costs covered. I think that has the same concerns as an inauguration fund. I mean, I don't think that's any different. Because especially if the money's for the council member Zeke Cohen's transition.
Yes.
I mean,
I may have expressed myself ambiguously, and that was what I tried to.
Well, how is, I guess, so what are we saying, that the amendment is not sufficient because the transition is just as tainted with that predictive problem that Steve identified as the inauguration?
I would suggest to accept the amendment as withdrawing the inauguration fund fundraising, and perhaps defer on the transitional fund until after the election, until the November meeting.
I have no problem.
And that sounds fine, although it may make it a little late in the process. I don't know when they swear in.
September, first week, I want to say, second week, first week.
So
Yeah.
that barely gives them any transition time at all. So, I mean, it just seems to me if they're raising funds for transition, it would be somebody's transition. We don't know whose it would be. And frankly, I think it wasn't so much inauguration, but inaugural ball that I think was sort of my concern. I mean, an inauguration is just somebody sticking their hand in the air and saying, I promise to defend the Constitution or whatever they have to say, but that's different from an inaugural ball. And that's what I think they were looking for. But I don't see how they have enough time to raise transition money if they're getting sworn in December after a November election and have a transition. Maybe the money could be earmarked for the transition of anybody who happens to get that office. Although I don't know how they start spending it now. That's clearly what they want to do. They want to get money now and spend it now on educating themselves on how to do a proper transition.
Also, as I understand it, Ms. Master had contacted me about a question that the SIL fund will not disperse funds until after the election.
Oh,
So that, there may be funds accumulated, and maybe it is also, maybe the current council president would have been the better applicant in this petition, as initiating the transition. But I would leave that up to the board. If a general waiver is brought to motion and passed with the appropriate language, that the board takes no position if predicting the outcome of an election or whatever.
that mollifies my concern. I don't know that the board needs to decide whether or not they have enough time to spend the money, that kind of thing. I mean, those are logistics that I don't think involve ethics, but is there a motion at this time? Do we want to pass this till the next meeting?
I would say, well, I would move to accept the waiver amendment and pass and approve the solicitation request for transition funds. That's what I would do.
I would second that to the extent that that's clear to everybody. All right, I don't, given that, do we want to go ahead and vote on the motion, and the second, which has been seconded. So all in favor of the motion, as described, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we have two more guests here. Mr. Montgomery is for the administrative part. Ms. Lucas, could you refresh my memory on what issue you are here?
Hi, I'm sorry. Are you talking with me, Rachel Lucas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here in support of Rodney Montgomery.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll tie
get to
that
you in a
over
moment.
into the
Thank you.
administrative
Yes.
part.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
No,
very
you
much.
did not miss me. I'm just here in support.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let me take charge here. What do we have left on this docket other than the approval of the minutes and the staff updates?
Nothing else.
All right, let's move to the approval of the minutes of the June 12th, 2024 board meeting, public meeting. Are there any comments, suggested edits?
Yes, I'm afraid I do. I found these minutes to be not up to our usual high standards, frankly, and there were a lot of typos, grammatical errors, and syntactical mistakes, and I don't feel comfortable signing off on these minutes. I can go through the different ones if you want, but I don't feel comfortable signing off on them in the way that they're worded. Sorry.
All right, I'll redact them for accuracy and we'll resubmit them to the board at the next meeting.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll go to staff update. Start with you, Chris.
Staff update, we have a new ethics officer, Naishan, who applied for the job, and after a lengthy interview process that we had to conduct, we decided to go with Naishan as she has shown her reliability and her willingness to take on work and go beyond what is expected. That opened Naishan's old position, and so we're currently interviewing for a new ethics special assistant. We hope to have
Congratulations.
we
Absolutely.
hope to have that process concluded by the next meeting.
Congratulations.
As part of, we also had an intern for the last couple of weeks, and as part of her activities, we started a lobbyist review to see who had been registering over the past years but did not this year. So we'll provide the board with a report on that at the next meeting. And I think that the numbers, Naishan, you have the card. What is going to be the preliminary finals for the past fiscal year to go into the report?
Yes, so wrapping up fiscal year 24, we had a total of 935 help desks. In June, there were 35 help desks that we received. 4 of those were gift solicitation waivers, 26 were financial disclosure statements, 2 were ethics inquiry, none were ethics training or out of our jurisdiction. And we had 1 dealing with administrative matters. Again, our total was 935, a little bit less than last year's, but we can attest that to our work in educating people about what ethics does and ethics law. For the ethics training in June, there were 12 people that took the training. The total number of complaints we received last year were 30. And so far, for the secondary waivers, we only received 2 last year, but we approved 1. And then for our gift solicitation waivers, we received a total of 31 waivers. of those 31 waivers, we approved 30. It's up from last year, so we're definitely getting a lot more gift solicitation waivers. For the financial disclosures, more than 3,000 employees needed to file. Our total number of financial disclosures we received was 3,128. This is including annual statements as well as amendments and entry statements. It's up, the number we received is up from last year's, which was 2,965 that we received last year. And let's see, for the lobbyists, so far, we have 142 lobbyists registered, but we are still missing 3 lobbyists semi-annual reports, which were due on July 31st. And then one more. For July, since we didn't have a meeting, we actually had 57 help desk requests. 21 were lobbyists, 7 were concerning gift solicitation waivers, 18 were concerning financial disclosure statements, 6 were ethics inquiries, 5 were for the ethics training, none were for administrative matters, and none were out of the board's jurisdiction.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're on mute, Steve.
Thank you, Nate, John. Thank you, John. Okay, Chris, you want to briefly brief us on anything before we move on to other business?
I think most of the other issues are for the administrative board.
Right. All right. Yeah, I kind of agree. All right. Let's go ahead and adjourn unless there's any objection. Let's adjourn the public session for August 14th. All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.